Hey everybody, welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with another edition of Blade and Sorcery. I don't know why I'm doing this. Maybe I'm practicing my semaphore, put some flags up, and summon a boat or something. Anyway, hi! I hope you're doing well wherever you are right now, whether it's day or night, or you're sitting on the back of a Russian freighter with a whole bunch of freight containers waiting to be smuggled to another part of the world. I don't know. I hope you're doing well, though, wherever you are. And we are today playing the survival mode here in Blade and Sorcery. We're in the marketplace. Another cool place to come here when you want to tear some heads off and rip some limbs off. So the basic premise of this, if you haven't seen this before, is 3 weapons come out at random. And we choose our choice of the choices, and we destroy some people with them. So, let's get things kicked off. Yeah. Take this sword and shove it into some NPCs. So, yeah, it's another good day to have a little bit of fun with some NPCs and stuff, you know. Yeah. So what's in the news today? Just kidding. You will never hear any sort of drama. I have said this before on my channel. You'll never see or hear any kind of real drama here. This is a place where it's a community, we have fun, and we just kind of chill out with each other while I kill some people and tell some silly stories. So let's do our traditional first slow motion kill of the day. I'm going to toss that over her head, and I'm going to distract her, and I'm going to go like this. Did I mention I have a couple mods on the game now? So yeah, this is Mace Windu's lightsaber. I've modded this into the game. It was a lot easier than I thought. There's a viewer that cued me in on to do it a while ago, and I was kind of scared, right? Let's see if I can disarm him. No, but I can de-hand him. He cued me in on how to do this, and I'm so thankful. This is so ridiculously fun, like to pretend that I'm a Jedi here. So it's like I can do all the cool Jedi moves. Hold on. I've been practicing just a tiny bit. Here, let me run over here so it's less fair for her. All right, here we go. Slow motion. We do this. We run up. We blast it. It's the slow motion kills with this thing. I was so badass. Hold on. See what I mean? This is... Okay, so I know I had a stance before of, like, I would try to stay away from mods, right? Because look, I installed a couple other ones alongside this, and it was like, I had, in the little selection book over here in the sandbox, I had, like, 400 different weapons to choose from, and it's like, well, I don't know. And then to make it worse, right, each of those weapons kind of slows the game down a tiny bit, because they have to mod them into the game. And, wrecked. And, so each of them slows down the game a little bit. Like, so when you have them in the, like, here on the map, they take a little extra memory, right? Because when it's these traditional weapons, you you don't have really a lot of coding to do, right? It's like 7 basic weapons or 10 basic weapons or whatever it is, and you can duplicate them. Well, when you have all those, like, 400 weapons, all these guys spawn with random weapons from those collections. And so after a little bit, you've just got all these random weird modded weapons on the field. And it really makes the game chug, at least for me, you know, like, sometimes it apparently doesn't look bad on the recording. My SWTOR days are coming back. Yes, I used to play, what is it, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or, what? The online version, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway. So yeah, hope you're having a good day. Like I said, while I friggin' Jedi my way through this. So yeah, that's a little bit unfair. So, I was thinking the other day, like, there's a lot of stress in the world, right? Everyone's very... Hold on. Come on. There we go. Sorry, I modded in more stuff. Those are the blasters from Star Wars. Anyway, the game's like, Here, have some weapons. Try these. No, you guys are screwed. I'm now fighting in the rebellion. So, you know, you guys can suck it. But, you know, a lot of stress in the world. And that's why I think stuff like this is so popular for folks. Because it lets you just unwind, unplug, and everything. Well, years ago... No, God, I suck. There we go. Boom, headshot, literally. Okay. So years ago, I was working... there we go. I was working in radio. No, enough from you. And this was like my third radio job, right? And this is the one that I got because my wife actually inspired me to go get the job, and it was a great job, right? I was doing morning show work. Unleg you. I was doing morning show work. I was like sort of a co-host. There were 2 people on the show. What the hell? There were 2 people on the show already. This is so unfair. And they needed like a wacky news kind of thing going on, and so that's what I did, right? So I was there and come on, and hey, you know, here's what's in the news. It's kind of wacky, right? I never really dug that kind of aspect, but I did get to work on a couple other stations that were really fun at that place. Jeez. Oh, Jesus. But it doesn't cauterize the wound. That's a... Oh, God. Anyway, so there were other shows on in that station cluster that I worked for in the morning show as well. One of them... Hey... I'll say his name because it's generic enough and none of you are going to find him. Hey, Terry, if you happen to be watching, your morning show that I did work on was probably one of the most amazing things ever. And it's not probably because of what you think. That's one of the blaster bolts, by the way, that they mod in. Apparently it's some sort of, like, I don't know. It's some sort of flaming core of something. Anyway, his radio show was great to work on because... he would... he really didn't like working for that He really didn't like working for that company, and so he would complain a lot. He was there a while before I was. Oop, it's down there. And he would complain about like the management being mean to him and telling him all sorts of unreasonable expectations about ratings and everything. This guy ran like it was a morning show that was like, you know, the kind of show that you would or radio station that you'd hear in like a dentist's office, like that at work radio. We're here to give you all the adult contemporary hits that aren't going to piss off your boss, right? That kind of stuff. Okay. So that's what he did, and it was a great little, you know, he was this quiet guy, and, you know, hey, we're here on the radio station, and we're coming at you, and we're going to have a great morning. A lot of nice radio music, you know, that kind of thing. But he would always complain because he got screwed by a lot of like different utility companies and like that. Okay, come on. There we go. This thing's a little bit bugged. Sorry about that. But he would have to like get into arguments with customer service, so like kind of like me. God, I hope. Anyway, take that. And he would he had a lot of complaints that he would go after, but like they'd be between, you know, the segments, so like during commercial breaks. And so I'd be in there to do my news. Oh, there you are. He's scared now. He's like, no, he has a lightsaber. So like I'd go in there to do my news, and I'd be in for the commercials beforehand. So there's like 3 minutes, right? Nope. Take that. A little bit of that. So I'd be in for the commercials, and we'd be talking a little bit, and he'd be like, you know, God, I hate this nonsense. It's really pissing me off, and you know, it's the most horrible thing I've ever been in. You know, that kind of stuff, right? And then he'd go, hold on, we gotta come back on the air. Hold on 1 second. And then he'd flip the switch like on the board to come back from commercial. And it was Hey, this is Terry on WN, whatever it was. Welcome back. We're having another great morning where we're just relaxing and having fun. I'll be taking you. And then cut to a commercial again. He's like, enough of this nonsense. I'm so pissed off right now. So I'd go back and forth all day like that. See if I can. Oh no, these are really realistic from for the perspective of Star Wars, man. They have the same kind of feeling. They really, like when you watch people get blasted with these in the Star Wars movies, this does very much the same. Like when it takes them down the same way. There we go. Game's like, you didn't officially finish. Anyway, yeah, I went back and forth like that a lot. You'd get really upset and then click back and, hey everybody, it's me, Terry, again on the air. Hold on, let's do a round with an old-fashioned weapon to give him a chance. And so this radio station company that I worked for, really just a high-stress environment, right? And the funny thing is that they had these, white noise generators, right? Those things the mechanical ones that you can put in your house so they go, right? So we've got a few of those in our house, and I use them to kind of combat my autism a little bit. It helps kind of calm my brain down. It's also good for the music in my head. It kind of... Ooh, clumsy lady. That's your fault. Anyway, there's... I use them for my brain injury, too. It kind of calms the brain waves down a little bit. Okay, so this company had, those things... Damn you! Those things installed in their... those things installed in their air duct system, right? So it was built in that there'd always be a little going on in the background. Well, the reason they did that is because they had a consultant in who said that it would be good for the morale and the relaxation of the people that were working there if they had this, this kind of calming system. And so the reason was the ownership and the management of this place, who are actually a very well-known radio family, right? They've been developing technology and everything since the 1940s for radio. And so, as I slip back into the word radio, but they were under a lot of pressure to produce because they were the number one radio cluster in the area, right? Here, have a bucket, you idiot. Come here. I need your axe. No, I'm gonna use your bow. Screw that. But, so they had a lot of pressure. It was the number one country station. It was the number one adult contemporary station. It was the number one alternative station. You know those things like Jack FM and Bob FM and Joe FM and stuff. Yeah, we had one of the first Joe FM stations. One of, I think there was 10 that started at the same time or something. And those of you keeping score, you're probably there's something else to put on the spreadsheet about Orpheus. Calm down. I liked working for that, but they were the number one station for that. The younger audience and stuff. And so there's a lot of pressure, for everybody to produce, to have this great stuff. All the hosts were so stressed out all the time. And then there's me. I have to work for every single station. And so I'm sharing the stress of every single station. And I have to be witty in 3 completely separate demographics, right? So I have to know jokes and references and pop culture stuff for the country crowd, which I am not a country person. My wife, she's more of a country person. I get in the car, the country station's on. She gets in the car, the talk radio station is on, right? I'm kind of that kind of person. And so I had to know pop culture stuff from the country scene and Big and Rich is having another thing. Did you see the thing about, it's just, and I had to know about upcoming albums and the Country Music Awards and all that. All right, so there's that station. For the Joe FM station, I had to I had to know stuff about like all the pop culture, Survivor, the show, and everything on all the radio stations. I mean, all the TV stations. I had to know about the movies that were out, even though I had zero chance at that point to go to any movies. It was like completely impossible. So for that one, and then for the adult contemporary with the guy who would go back and forth between being upset and not. He's the nicest guy, man. I used to go play mini golf with him. Anyway, I had to know this stuff for like the 45 to 60. Ooh, the 45 to 60 demographic, like older people, and I was 28 years old, so it's like knowing all this stuff from all these different places, and so it meant that I had to be up on all that stuff. I had to read newspapers and magazines. I could watch some TV, like I'd have to like fast forward through stuff to get the general idea. Oh, come here. Good night. Oh, nope. And so there I am. I'm doing all that stuff. And it gets to the point where, like, I'm also writing news. I'm covering stuff like the county commission meetings and the city council meetings for 2 different cities. So needless to say, it sucked. Okay. Well, so one day my boss comes to me. Wow, that was cool. Like, deflect. Anyway, so one day my boss comes to me and he says, "So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to rework your entire." The way that you do your job, like the way that you do your news. We're going to have to reframe it for the different demographic areas and all that stuff. And I said, okay, but what do you mean? He said, well, a consultant came in, which is always wonderful. Hey, folks, if you work at a company that decides to have a consultant come in, and I really don't care what it's for. If you have a consultant coming in, it's always bad, because that's some person from somewhere else that they're paying for their opinion is going to tell your boss to change things completely in your company. Well, this guy that came in to consult and charged them a pretty penny, too. Let's see if I can do a slow-mo apple boop. Come here, man. That's pretty good. I like that. Oh, no. Oh, forehead strike. So he came in and he said, well, what you need to do is like tailor the news for different areas. So, if the demographics for your one station that month or for a certain metropolitan area, you do news about that. It's like, it would have tripled my workload, quite literally. Okay. So there I am, I'm doing all that stuff. And my boss comes to me and says, so what we're going to have to do is every day we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about the next day's news, and I'm going to help you with some key points each day for it. Okay. And he says, well, and then afterwards, after your shift, you can come in here and we'll discuss which ones were good and which ones are bad. Okay, I'd been working there over a year at this point. And this is the kind of thing that you do with an intern when they start working in the radio industry, not someone who's been almost working in it for like a decade. Okay. So I was appalled. I was like, are you kidding me, dude? I'm not starting that stuff over. And he says, well, this is what's going to happen. You either do that or, we'll have to find someone else for the position. And I go, all right. So I go home that day. And I actually do feel like Mace Windu here. Let's... Did I mention I had 2? And so I go home that day and I see my wife, and she's, we're laying in bed. I think it was like a Friday night or something like that, because I remember we were both laying in bed. I think she had the night off or something. And I'm talking to her and I'm telling her what's going on. Uh-oh, I lost one. And anyway, I'm telling her what's going on. Slow motion blade strike. And all of a sudden, I'm talking about how much stress. This is something you never see in the Star Wars movies, but I'd like to. Anyway, so I'm telling her about everything going on, and I'm really stressing out about it, because it's like the next week I'm going to have to completely redo the way I do news. And with autism and a couple other things, if you have a certain way that you do things, changing everything is like the end of the friggin' world sometimes, right? Like, it's especially bad for stuff like if you move or something like that. It takes me half a year to get comfortable with somewhere new that I've moved, right? So, oop, what just happened? Oh, come here. Use the force. But, it can take me a long time to get that stuff figured out. Well, so now I'm freaking out. I'm telling my wife about it. And all of a sudden, I start getting this tightness in my chest. And it starts to kind of turn into a little bit of pain that's kind of going across my chest like this way, and then it'll shoot down this way, and then it goes up, and it kind of starts coming down my arm. Now, let me remind you, I'm 28 years old at this point, and I had been, healthy enough to go into the Navy, I was in pretty darn good shape. I didn't have any, big issues with anything. And so there I am. I'm laying in bed. I start getting these chest pains. Whoop. And suddenly the chest pains start turning into, like, it's hard for me to breathe. And I feel sweat just start pouring off my face. Nope. And I'm sitting there, and I go, honey, I'm feeling a little weird. And then everything starts to, like, my vision just starts to go black in from the sides, like in circles. So it's like when they do a dissolve, like for a movie scene change, and it's that circle wipe that goes in the black like ring. That's what it was. It was just this blackness, this black that came in from the sides of my vision, and I just kind of, I blacked completely out, but at the same time, suddenly I was just, I was clutching my chest, I couldn't breathe, and it was painful. Like, I didn't expect, because in case you're wondering, yes, it was a heart attack. I didn't expect that a heart attack would hurt that bad. You know what I mean? Like, you hear, like, okay, you see, maybe you've seen people with a heart attack in a movie, right? and they'll be standing there, all of a sudden they'll grab their arm and go, and then they'll drop, right? Well, it wasn't that. Like, you think somehow that it causes pain in the arm or something. Sorry about if that's really loud. It's hard to balance the sound for this thing. But, so I didn't expect, like, it to hurt. Because, you see that in the movies. Yikes. You see that in the movies, you don't expect, like, you think that the pain is in the arm, which it is, right? You get this horrible pain that, like, tightens up and shoots down your arm. But that pain also goes right into your chest, and it spreads out from your chest. And I like, kind of weakly said to my wife, I said, honey, we gotta go to the hospital. And so I was just a mess. I was wearing, like, pajamas. She was wearing her pajamas. We drove to the local hospital, which, the local hospital in that city was not known for being very good, like, at all. And so we get in there, and the guy, like, does all sorts of tests and everything. And he says, well, it seems like you've had a mild cardiac event. A mild cardiac event. I'm like, so a heart attack. He says, yeah, but you're young, so we don't necessarily want to call it a heart attack. And I said, so with all the symptoms that I had, you're not willing to call that a heart attack? No, you should be fine. Well, so they hooked me up to this thing called a Holter, right? So they have me go to my local doctor, and he sets me up with a Holter, which is it's like now it's the technology is so much different now. Like, it's a little Bluetooth thing that you put on with some electrodes, and, like, it records stuff for your heartbeat throughout the day. Well, that's what it is. Like, you put on some pads, you put on some pads, it like records your heartbeat during the day, And if you have something that feels weird, right, you can hit a button and it'll like make a special little notation in the log, right? It'll say, you know, this was a time that he felt that something was happening. The doctor will compare it to what's going on, and then they'll get a little you know, an idea of what that was caused by or what kind of happened at that point. All right. So they got me one of those. My doctor got me one of those, and he hooks me up, and he says, you know, tomorrow and the next day I want you to wear this. Now, here's what's funny about the technology. Right now, it's... Really? Right now, the technology is like a Bluetooth thing and a couple of, like, electrode pads. And, but that, back then, it was like this battery pack that was, like, about the size of this that I had to wear on my belt. And it had, like, 8 wires that came out of it. I had to like shave parts of my chest and stuff and stick on all these electrodes. And I had to have the wires coming out of my shirt and going out of the belt pack like I had some sort of cheap pacemaker or something. And so, I mean, the next day, okay, so here's the thing. I asked the doctor, I said, can I, you know, what are my limitations right now? What? Oh, it goes up here. I said, what are my limitations right now? And he said, okay, well, you know, don't do anything heavy. You know, don't go exercising or anything. Try to stay away from intimate activity for a couple days. You know, you don't want too much excitement. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, I work in radio. I said, can I work, you know, and do that? And he says, I don't see why not, as long as you're just kind of careful about it. Okay, so the weekend goes. I had a city council meeting the next Monday, all right? Or was it Saturday? I don't remember. Anyway, I was in the office getting ready for the city council meeting, and I had come in like the next day of work, and I told them, you know, I had a heart attack, right? Take that. Did that not kill you? Seriously, bro? Let's try it this way. That seemed to work. This is so unfair. And so, whoa. I lost it. Mace, where's your window? Where'd it go? Did it go in here? No? Oh, God. My lightsabers are gone. That's all I have as a Jedi. Ooh, blasters are so primitive. Anyway, so, my boss comes over to me and he's like, so, you had a heart attack, huh? And, yeah, I show him, like, the halter. I said, you know, here, look, I'm wearing a halter. And, you know, he says, why are you at work? I said, why am I at work? I'm the only person who does this stuff. Like, I don't have anyone working under me or anything. I hear the lightsaber. It's stuck in the ground somewhere. Oh, boy. Let me get away from it. Ah, the sound. Wait, no. The sound is in his head? What? Look, we have a schizophrenic dead person. Except, well, maybe he's like me. It seems like he's hearing some sort of industrial death metal or something. Sorry about that sound. But my boss is like, so, yeah, you had a heart attack, huh? And I said, yeah. He says, well, why are you coming into work? Well, you know, I gotta get work done. He says, well, I don't feel comfortable about that. I don't even think you had a heart attack. Maybe you're just doing this so you don't have to start that whole new process with me. Because he was like, you know, I guess we'll hold off until you're feeling a little better. Okay. So, it turns out his boss was the one that said that he was supposed to do that. He was supposed to, like, rework everything. And so I had this opportunity. My wife had gotten an offer to work on the Navajo reservation. And it was like, you know, I can keep this job and you can try to get a job here, or we can do something interesting and fun. So I quit. It was a couple weeks later, but I quit. I couldn't take it anymore. We had decided to live on some savings to cover my part of the income, and so we quit. And and so my boss calls me up, and he's like, wait, you know, I need you to come back. You're the only person who can do this. And I was like, what about all those days you told me that I shouldn't be working. And he's, well, I didn't think that you had had a heart attack. I said, so instead of believing that I had dedication to work, you believe that I was, faking having a heart attack for sympathy or something? I don't know. And so he's like, well, I really would love it if you reconsider, and I hope you're here tomorrow morning. And I'm like, dude, no, I'm not coming in. Screw you. Right? So I found out a couple months later, that guy got fired because he couldn't get me back. Which is absolutely hilarious, because this guy was like all about his position at that radio station. He was one of the people that so as most radio stations have at some point, they do like a music festival or something like that, like a kind of like a Lollapalooza kind of thing. And this radio station cluster did 2 of those, or no, they did one big one that was for all the radios, stations there. And this guy's whole life at certain times of the year was about that. So, he got fired. All of that was taken away from him because he couldn't get me back because he screwed up. But it was funny because his boss was the one that told him to do it, to change everything. And so the guy got fired because of something that his boss told him to do. Weird. Anyway. So, yeah, heart attack at 28. We never really figured out what it was for. The holster that I wore never showed any, anything notable at all. Wore it for 2 days. The doctor looked over everything. And what's funny is about this thing was so old school, so old. It actually had one of those old school lie detector machines. It had a little tiny roll of paper inside of it, and a little tiny pen. And the whole day it would just kind of scribble out my heartbeat on a little piece of paper that went from one side of a spool to the other. So the guy opens the box and literally it's just paper, like a scroll he's looking at. But no, nothing ever wrong. Never had any trouble with that ever again. Apparently I'm healthy as hell for my age, So I don't know. But that's the story of me having a heart attack at 28. Which I hope none of you have to ever go through. Here's the thing, though. If you ever have any of those symptoms, tightness in your chest, and no, I'm not talking about the stuff that comes from having COVID, right? There's a lot of complications long-term that have come from COVID. But if you feel pain in your chest that's spreading at all, okay, with a tightness, call 911. Call 911, get to a nearest hospital, have a friend drive you to a hospital, do something like that. Because you know what? It is way better to be safe than sorry on this, and I want to see you around for as long as possible. Alrighty? I care about you, I care about this entire community, and I hope you enjoy these little silly stories, and some of the educational ones too, that I've been telling all along the way. Anyway, we will see you next time here on Orpheus Plays.